Hi, I'm Matt here in Michigan.
And I'm Randall here in Texas. Today, Matt and I have got something a little bit special for you. This is a request of a friend of the channel, the Unapologetic Geek. Make sure to check out his channel if you have. He's got really awesome sci-fi classic reviews over there. He's always reminding people to never be ashamed of what you love, as long as you're not hurting anyone. This is our top 10 plus 4 movie genre films. So we get to pick a genre and we get to say this is our favorite film inside of that genre. We're going to try and stick pretty close to it. We're not going to do too much wiggle room, but because we want to do things a little bit different, we do get one MacGuffin. We get to break the rule at least once. We'll get to see what our MacGuffins is. We'll call them out if we have used our MacGuffins. This is also the third time that Matt and I have disclosed everything. Episode 3 of Full Disclosure. Make sure to always ask us questions or recommend topics for us to talk about if you want to just pick our brains on topics. Let's get into this genre list. Matt, you get the first go. Number 1, what is your favorite horror movie?
Well, Randall, as you know, I'm not a big horror buff, and mine is actually a little bit more recent. I guess the one I would say is my favorite is probably It. I like really good villains or like scary villains, and for me, It kind of hits like that scary villain thing or whatever monster. Scary clowns, man. Who really likes scary clowns? But no, I just think it has the right amount of scares and humor, and I just really like the child actors in that film.
Yeah, I think It Chapter 1 is what you're talking about. Probably not Chapter 2 so much.
Oh yeah, no, not in chapter 2. And I'm not talking about Tim Curry one, though, I've watched the Tim Curry one as well.
My favorite, I don't think is probably going to be much of a surprise because I literally said it was my favorite in the review that we did of it. It's The Conjuring. I think it's one of the best modern horror films, and really, as far as my favorite goes, it just is. It just has everything. It's a really good ghost story. I love the characters in it. It just tells a good story, even when you take out the horror elements of it. Even though I know everything that's coming up, there are still things in there where I'm like, yeah, it still gives me the creeps every once in a while. You know, all those basement scenes and the stuff with the witch and the ghosts. And for me, it actually works very well still.
And that was weird. When we did the review of it, that was the first time I'd seen that film, too. All right, Randall, you got the next category. It's action. So what's your favorite action film?
Oh, my favorite action film, Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Obviously, there's plenty of people who will say this slides straight into like science fiction, and it definitely has science fiction overtures. But if you haven't gone back and watched Terminator 2 in a long time, that is an action film. It is crazy. It's almost like following up Alien with Aliens, where it just, all right, now we've turned this in from a space horror to an action movie. Terminator 2 is full of action, and I absolutely love it. Not to mention a fantastically solid story.
Yes, I like Terminator 2, and I think if you asked me this question maybe like 6 or 7 years ago, that would probably be my answer to is Terminator 2. But me, I'm going a little bit more recent, and it's Mad Max Fury Road. To me, this was that adrenaline-packed movie that I needed at the right time. And it's one of those movies that I can jump into in the middle, whenever to watch movies. And heck, our title character isn't even really the main character. Furiosa is. I just think it's an excellent movie. It's a movie that I can watch at any time, and that's why it's my favorite action film.
Yeah, you know what? On a top 10 list of mine, like a full top 10 list, Fury Road is on that list. It's just not my favorite action film. That's all. Now you're confining me to genres. My list gets a little different from just my top 10. I absolutely love Fury Road. It's fantastic. Moving on though, number 3, favorite comic book movie.
This one's probably no surprise, and I know probably quite a few people picked this one, but for me, it is The Dark Knight. Batman is still my favorite comic book character, and, no surprise, for me, this is my favorite of the Batman movies. I just liked the story. I liked what Nolan did with this film. It's one of my favorite Nolan films, too. And I like our two villains in this. I think the Joker was well played by Heath Ledger, and I admit I was one of those people that was skeptical when the casting was announced. I also think that Two-Face was done well in this film too, and that's why it's my favorite comic book film.
The Dark Knight is probably one of the best comic book films ever, but my favorite comic book film I don't imagine many people are going to see this coming, honestly, is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You know what? I thought and sat and thought, like, hey, there's all these comic book films, there's MCU stuff, there's DC stuff, and all of the mainstream comic book movies, and I like those. But man, if there's just like a favorite comic book movie I have, it is 1990s Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's so much fun, and really, that story is plucked almost directly from the comic books. It is so well told and a lot of fun, and I always enjoy watching it. We already did a review on it. Go watch that if you want to know more.
Randall, that is a great pick. My younger self is saying how could you pick anything other than TMNT? That is a great movie, Randall. I agree with you on that one. All right, Randall. Next, you get to take the first crack at comedy.
Also, this is one that I did not have to hesitate at all to write down. Matt, I'm just gonna let you guess. What do you think my favorite comedy is?
I don't really want to guess because I don't want to give away my favorite comedy too.
Come on.
Come on. What's your favorite comedy? Is it one that we did a review of?
We've definitely done a review of it. Okay. We'll put you on the spot. My favorite comedy, no holds bar, easy, Ghostbusters. It's Ghostbusters. We did a review of it. I mean, I love it. It's so good. It's such straight-laced comedy. They don't do comedy like Ghostbusters anymore.
I totally agree with Ghostbusters, though actually it isn't my pick.
You're just liar.
No surprise that you picked Ghostbusters, because Ghostbusters is such an enjoyable film. I love that movie. But for me, I was thinking you know what? I like comedies for several different reasons, and this is probably the hardest one for me to pick. But for me, growing up, it's gotta be a Jim Carrey film. And so I picked my favorite Jim Carrey film, which is also another one that we've reviewed before, and that's Liar Liar. Heck, the movie is good, the story is good, the jokes are good, even the bloopers are good. So for me, Liar Liar checks all the boxes.
A goose! Yep, absolutely. Liar Liar is a great pick for a comedy. You're probably going to find a theme that we've done a lot of these movie reviews already because they're our favorites. So, although not all of them. Oh, man. Liar Liar, I enjoyed it. That is a solid pick for comedy. But, Matt, you get the next go. Adventure movie.
Well, the best adventure for me is Indiana Jones. And even though I think Raiders of the Lost Ark is the best film in the series, my favorite is The Last Crusade. I love the little back and forth that we get between Harrison Ford and Sean Connery in this film, that father-son relationship kind of thing. I love Indiana Jones, and I love The Last Crusade. This is one of those films that I watch probably once a year, and I think I've said that in one of our other reviews.
Well, this is just going to be the boring category, because who doesn't think of Indiana Jones when they think of adventure? Really, that is the epitomous character for adventure films. And I'm going to be honest, it was a hard pick. My second was right up on an Indiana Jones, was The Mummy. I really like The Mummy. Not the original Mummy, but the Brendan Fraser Mummy. But I didn't think there was a lot of world, skipping beats and everything. But my favorite is Raiders. Who am I kidding? My favorite adventure movie is Raiders of the Lost Ark. For all of the reasons that you stated about the character of Indiana Jones and we talked about in our review, Raiders of the Lost Ark is just the solid go-to adventure movie for me.
Yeah, I can't fault you at all for picking Raiders. Me, I think that is the best adventure movie. Even though it might not be my favorite, I still absolutely love that film. All right, Randall, next one. The thriller category.
It's a thriller. Nope. That's kind of a movie in and of itself. But thriller, I had a hard time picking a thriller film because it was hard for me to stay inside of the thriller, genre. And some people are probably going to say maybe falls outside of it. But what I landed on is Jaws. I love Jaws, and I think it really is going to land inside of the thriller genre. Maybe not entirely, but mostly. We did a review on Jaws. Go figure. I know. It's maybe not what you traditionally think of as a thriller, but it definitely has components to a thriller.
Oh, yeah. I love Jaws. That's probably my top 10 all-time favorite movies, too. But I'm gonna pick another one of my top 10 all favorite ones, and same thing. I'm claiming this as my thriller. This is The Silence of the Lambs. I love The Silence of the Lambs. For me, Hannibal Lecter is the best villain, even though I wouldn't even say that he's like the main bad guy. He's not the one killing everyone in the film. I love that psychological thriller aspect of Hannibal Lecter, the whole back and forth between him and Clarice. That's why I really like Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah, Silence of the Lambs is solidly thriller. I can't fault you for that one, honestly. I looked at it and I thought, Silence of the Lambs is good. I like it, but is it my favorite? And I thought The Shining for the same reasons. It's a really, really good movie, but is it my favorite? I don't know. Yeah, well, that's okay. Silence of the Lambs, great thriller movie, definitely. Moving on to a genre you just don't see that much of anymore, Western.
Yeah, so I'll have to tell you, westerns. My dad and like my grandpa were really into westerns, but I didn't like them growing up. I was just like, you know what? There's not a whole lot going on. I mean, sometimes you get some shootouts and stuff, but me, I didn't really enjoy westerns all that much. They just seemed like really long movies. And then once I got older and got to college age, I completely changed my view of westerns. I really like westerns, and for me, probably a lot of people's favorite, or probably the Western that a lot of people know. It's the good, the bad, and the ugly. I love the characters in this movie. I love a lot of the scenes, even the long scenes, where just the characters' reactions to things tell so much of the story, and the music. Iconic music from the good and the bad and the ugly. I love it. That is my favorite Western, hands down.
I can see what you might be thinking. Like if you watched old westerns, how you're just like, oh man, they spend a lot of time doing nothing, but really it's just there's lots of talking going on, and that's not necessarily bad, you know. But as a kid, you're like, oh my god, when are they gonna start shooting something? But no, my western, maybe not something that everyone would see, but I absolutely enjoy it. It's proof that remakes can be better than the original, in my personal opinion. The 2007 version of 310 to Yuma. Now, for everything that westerns are, 310 to Yuma hits all of the beats for me. It really does. It has just this fantastic cast. Just a super solid cast. Of course, headed up by Russell Crowe and Christian Bale. Those two method actors put together just come out and just do a fantastic like thing, and that has all of those sit down boring scenes. There's of course shootout at the end, but there's not a ton of shootouts in this film. It's just a solid western movie and better than the original, I think.
Yes, 310 to Yuma is good. I actually haven't seen the original one. Another one that I kind of like both the original and the remake, True Grit. That is a pretty good western too. But yeah, I'm not surprised, man. Russell Crowe, keep doing westerns, man. You make some good western films. I'm happy with quite a few Russell Crowe western films. Maybe that's all we need. We just need Aussies playing, in western films, and you get a good western film.
They practically live in the West still, Matt.
All right, Randall, we're going to go to the next category, and this one is animation.
All right, animation. This one is super hard, so MacGuffin time. I couldn't pick a favorite animation film. I mean, obviously, there's a ton of Disney movies, and I can tell you my favorite Disney movie individually, but I couldn't just pick like a favorite animation movie. So I'm cheating. This is my cheat. Death Note. Death Note is, obviously an anime, but for me, it is the animation that I go back to again and again. I love the story. I love the characters. Everything that Light Yagami has to go through of, is this right? Is it true? And he ends up becoming the villain. And I love the character of L and Nier at the end. I'd be lying if I said that this wasn't my favorite animation that I've seen. And I watched a decent amount of anime, not a huge, but a decent amount. So close there is, Cowboy Bebop, but nope, nothing beats Death Note. Not the 2000 whatever, the Netflix movie was awful. That was a travesty.
Me, I like a lot of different animation, especially like shows and different stuff too. But me, I think my favorite one is really kind of like changed a bit of animation for me, and that's got to be Toy Story. I love Tim Allen and Tom Hanks in this one. This one is such a funny, quotable movie too. I'm more of like a traditional hand drawn animation fan, but this is the first time I really got to see, a computer generated movie, and I'm even looking at the little like green army men. I was just like, wow, that looks so real, kind of thing. I think part of it was just the age I was when it came out and stuff, and I can keep going back to Toy Story.
Man, we watched Toy Story so many times at your house growing up. Like, crazy. Crazy amount when that thing came out on VHS. How many times we watched that movie. Now we're going to go in a completely different direction. I don't know why this one's right after animation, but it is romance.
I wonder what's gonna be my favorite romance film. I'm claiming this as romance, and I don't think it's a surprise. Randall and I have done a review of it just recently. It's Dirty Dancing. Everything you need to know about this film, of how I feel about it, just watch a review. I'm just gonna leave it at that. It's Dirty Dancing.
Okay, Dirty Dancing. Dirty Dancing's a solid romance pick. I mean, it's fine, but it's not as good as mine. I'm sorry. Matt, it's When Harry Met Sally.
Yeah.
It's my favorite romantic movie. You know what? And the thing is, like, it's not that it doesn't have some like, hey, it's aged a little bit cringe, but like, really, When Harry Met Sally, the whole concept, like these people, grow apart, grow together, get know each other, but never like meet at the right time, and then all of a sudden, the movie ends happy, and it's a solid, awesome romance, and I just don't think you can do any better than it, in all honesty.
Yeah, I really like how when Harry and Sally first meet and stuff, and these are like completely different characters and stuff. They seem like total opposites, and like I said, we get to a happy ending kind of thing at the end. Yes, I think Harry Met Sally is really good, really well told story. Brandon, we're moving on to our next topic, and it is sci-fi.
Sci-fi was hands down the hardest topic for me to pick. How can I possibly pick a single sci-fi favorite, Matt? Do you know how hard it is? All right, now everyone's probably thinking, "Oh, well, that's easy. Randall's gonna pick a Star Trek movie," but I'm not. Star Trek is my like favorite fandom overall. I love Star Trek and the TV series and a lot of the movies and everything, but when it comes to picking just like a solid favorite movie, I thought and thought and thought, and my wife helped me think it out, and I finally came to it, and it's The Abyss Director's Edition, Director's Cut. I think The Abyss is just a fantastic movie, especially the Director's Cut. The theatrical cut takes too much away. You don't really necessarily understand everything that's going on, but when you watch the Director's Cut, it all makes sense. All of a sudden, like, oh wow, man, I can't believe they cut that out because that was important. But it's solid science fiction. I love the cast. I love the characters. I love the message. Probably not what most people will think, and it's, I think honestly maybe a little underrated, but not Star Trek. I'm gonna guess Matt is actually in the Star Wars, but who knows? Could be wrong.
So this one is probably gonna come to surprise people. This, like comedy, was the other category that was the hardest for me to pick from. Like, what do I really go from sci-fi? And I think science fiction really goes into other genres. So my pick's really like, what do I think fits like science fiction? Mine probably fits more of the science or the fiction part, because a lot of these other ones I'm like Blade Runner. That would be number one. Number two probably be like Jurassic Park. I'd go for that. Or do I take the Star Trek route too and go for Undiscovered Country? Like, that was what was going in my head. But I actually settled on what I'm like, all right, well, what hits science and that I really enjoy? And for me, that's The Martian. I think that does the science really well. It was funny. I think the story is really good. And dude, we get Matt Damon in space.
The amount of money that the United States has spent saving Matt Damon's life. No, The Martian is a super solid pick. I know that The Martian was on my list of favorites for sure. As I was trying to whittle it down, what will I pick, and it's good. I think that's a really solid pick. Now that ends like the actual genre top 10 list, but when the Unapologetic Geek did his video, he had 14 topics, so there was kind of these 4 additionals, and we're gonna go the all full 9. Dang it, what is that saying? We're gonna
Which
go
one?
the full 9 yards. Is that it?
The full 9 yards, something like that.
Yeah.
We're gonna go the full way.
But we had these additional 4 topics and genres put in by the Unapologetic Geek, and we're gonna go and do them all. So, Matt, next on the list, drama.
Oh man, so much drama. Man, I'm not really much of a drama queen or anything. I don't really go for drama. No, I do like drama movies, and actually, for me, for drama, I think I like The Shawshank Redemption. To me, that's my top one, most enjoyable. I love the characters in it. The relationship Andy Dufresne has with the other inmates and stuff, I think is great. Story is great. It has some good, heartfelt moments in this movie too, and I absolutely love the ending. And a lot of stuff, like, you didn't really know what was going on, and like the big reveal of what happened to Andy Bernard. Oh my goodness, I really like this film. So for drama, for me, Shawshank Redemption, that's what it is.
Solid, your second Stephen King movie. For me, I don't watch a ton of drama films. There are some that definitely tick my boxes, but for me, it's Gone Girl. Fairly new. It's such a sadistic film, really. You sit there and you're thinking to yourself, I'm not gonna like this. This is too dramatic. And then you're all of a sudden you're leaning in. Oh man, wow. Rosamund Pike, that character's a yeah, wow. That's evil. You know, all the things that she put Ben Affleck's character through in that. It's a solid drama, and honestly, it's the one where I sit there and think I can just enjoy this and not be apologetic about it. No pun intended.
Dude, Randall, that's a great choice. Gone Girl was such a good movie. I always like movies that make you feel something, and that movie just made me shudder a bit. Like psychological, it's like a psychological shudder about that. Such good characters in that movie. That was a great pick. All right, next toss up one, biopic or biopic, however you want to say it.
I had a hard time with this one too, because it's not a genre that I find myself watching very often. So I want to caveat with when I'm picking a biopic or biopic, it's not because it's necessarily accurate. So get that out of your way. It's because it's a movie that I can watch and be entertained by. Hence, it's my favorite, The Aviator. I have a fascination with like historical stuff, and I love this early aviation, how everything was going on between Pan Am and TWA, and Howard Hughes is this towering figure. It's fun to watch. It's a little long, admittedly. Most biopics are, but for me, close pick between that and Walk the Line. But Aviator comes up on top.
For me, it is The King's Speech. Yes, I know a lot of people hate this film because it beat out The Social Network for Best Picture. But I'm one of those few people who actually enjoy The King's Speech more than The Social Network. I know. How dare I speak about the generation defining movie that is The Social Network?
I've never even seen The Social Network.
You haven't seen it yet?
Generation defining. I've never watched it.
Generation defining, man. I know the Watch Mojo writers right now are just getting their comments ready to put in our video, like, how dare you pick The King's Speech over The Social Network? It's the greatest thing ever.
But The King's Speech, really? Okay, Academy.
Timing isn't my strong suit.
Yeah, I don't care if The King's Speech was Oscar bait. I like this Oscar bait. I enjoyed this film quite a bit. I like the characters. I like the story. And heck, I'm not someone that knows a whole lot about the royal family. So for me, this was really interesting. So, I don't know. This is a film that maybe a lot of people don't like, or they can say all they want. The Social Network was better. I enjoyed this film better. And that's what we're going with. Not what the best films are, but what our favorite films are.
I can't compare it to The Social Network. I've never seen it, but The King's Speech is a good pick for a biopic. It's kind of this like behind the scenes view of things that you don't really think about or you didn't get to see, or maybe things that have come to light more recently. It's a good pick, man. That's fine. I'm surprised you didn't pick Walk the Line, but
that is a good one too.
But all right. Now getting near the end, second to last, favorite war movie.
Well, this one probably shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. I mean, it's Saving Private Ryan. Freaking Tom Hanks, Spielberg. This is great. Like, I don't know. For me, this kind of like changed war films for me. This was like so well done. I think this is one of those first movies where I actually felt I was like on the battlefield and stuff. It's Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah, Saving Private Ryan's a solid pick, and also what I think probably most people will pick, but I'm not going to pick it because my favorite war movie, the one I find myself watching the most, and I want to be very clear about this, similar to Biopic, I don't pick it because it's necessarily the most accurate, okay? Just get that out of the way. It's Black Hawk Down. I love Black Hawk Down as a war film because it really shows the chaotic nature of modern warfare and how, just utterly terrifying it can be, how gruesome modern warfare is. Not that any warfare is not gruesome. It was the first film that I watched that really showed modern warfare because everything else concentrates so heavily on like World War II stuff, and in this it's like, well, this is not how wars are fought today. Wars today are fought in cities, and Black Hawk Down does a great job of that. And I think it does a great job of showing it from the soldiers' perspectives. It's not really telling it from, the higher ups perspectives all the time, although you get a little bit of it, but not a ton. It hit all those spots for me, and big surprise, Ridley Scott.
Randall, it also has Obi-Wan Kenobi in it.
Dude, the cast in Black Hawk Down is absolutely ridiculous.
One thing Saving Private Ryan has, though, it has Matt Damon in it. Another Matt Damon film. So, Matt Damon.
He's just a drain on the United States Treasury, Matt.
So, Randall, this is our final kind of, whatever you want to say, toss-up extra one. And it's the last one. Randall, it is fantasy. What's your favorite fantasy film?
This is hard. I'm just going to say it. I love The Lord of the Rings. But I take The Lord of the Rings as like a trilogy. And I already used my MacGuffin. So I can't do that. I can't break the rules. My favorite fantasy film, standalone fantasy film, is Labyrinth. David Bowie and Jennifer Connelly and unnamed baby. It's so much fun to watch. It's such an interesting film. It's different. It's out there. It's solidly fantasy. Close follow-up, maybe, the Never-Ending Story, but just The Labyrinth. Whew. Very good.
Dude, all those movies good. Labyrinth, The Never-Ending Story, Pan's Labyrinth I love all those movies. But yeah, I'm gonna go that route. Whatever. If this is my MacGuffin, so be it. It's one of the Lord of the Rings films, and for me, it's really like, well, which Lord of the Rings film do I pick? It's kind of like with Star Wars, like, do I pick Star Wars or Empire Strikes Back? But for me, my favorite Star Wars film is Empire Strikes Back, and likewise, with Lord of the Rings, I like the sequel, so it's The Two Towers. Two Towers is that favorite one for me. It just added on such a great start that we got from The Fellowship. And honestly, I'll admit, I didn't read the books before. The Fellowship was like my first introduction into this great world that Tolkien created. I just think that The Two Towers does an excellent job of building on that and has some of the best battle scenes, in my opinion, too. That's why I really like The Two Towers.
Yeah, The Two Towers is solid. Two Towers is a really, really good movie. In fact, it's interesting that Peter Jackson gets Best Director for Return of the King when really he just got shafted on Two Towers. But, Matt saving his MacGuffin to the end, just saying The Lord of the Rings. I can get with that, honestly. That's very good. So, now, the whole point of this is kind of this, like, small YouTube movie community getting together and telling our favorite movies from different genres. And so it's our turn to pass the buck. And what I'm going to pick is a channel based over in the UK, Rio's Positive POV. So if you haven't checked his channel out, make sure to go check it out. He just got done doing like a 4 or 5 episode series on all of his Blu-rays, if that tells you how many Blu-rays he has. So that's fun to watch too. But I would like to see his favorite genres. He only has to do 10. He doesn't have to do the whole 14 list like we did, but, up to him. He doesn't have to do it at all if he doesn't want to. I'm not forcing him.
I want to thank to the Apologetic Geek again. Thank you very much for nominating us for this. Randall and I enjoyed doing this greatly. If you guys have not checked out the Unapologetic Geeks channel, be sure to do that. He puts together great videos, so be sure to check that out. It was funny when I was watching your responses. I'm like, wow, he answers these a lot how I would answer them too. So if some of our answers seem similar, it's like, yep. When I was watching their video, I'm like, yep, that's right how I feel on that as well.
And of course, you're always welcome to comment down below what your favorite movies from all these genres would be. We would be super interested in knowing. And if you have topics, suggestions for other full disclosure episodes, make sure to put those down there as well. We have plenty of other things going on our YouTube channel, full new movie reviews, flashback movie reviews, call-up episodes, and of course the occasional TV show shows up on there too.
We also have a Facebook page. Be sure to check that out for new information on different stuff going on in entertainment. We also post the day before our new videos come out to let you know what the next topic is going to be. Our new videos come out every Monday and Thursday. For now, I'm Matt here in Michigan. Have a good day.
And I'm Randall here in Texas. I'll see everyone next time.
Next time on No Market Media. Please consider checking out some of our other videos.